LA Chargers are off to a 3-0 start after beating the Broncos 23-20 in SoFi Stadium for their first home game. So let's break down everything that happened in that game and what we can look forward to in week 4. Let's get into it. And if that ain't true right now, boy, if that ain't true, that is the truest statement we can say right now. The Chargers are 3-0.
Yes, sir.
Thrilling victory against the Broncos at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. I got my guy, Young RG, with me again this week to do our Broncos recap. And we're going to get right into it, man. Like I said, the Chargers are 3-0. We couldn't be happier. I think that in both our fandom's time, we haven't started 3-0. You know, dating all the way back to the early 2000s. You know,
I was but an infant.
Right, right. And I wasn't a quote unquote fan. Yeah, I was still playing ball in college. So yes, that tells you how long it's been since the Chargers started 3-0. So we, as a fan base, are elated right now, but there is still work to do. We can't rest on our laurels. So we're going to break down the entirety of what happened in this game and what the Chargers did great, what the Chargers did, you know, I guess you can say negative, or what they can improve on. And, you know, talk about some injuries and things of that nature and get into what we can look for in week 4. So first and foremost, Young RG, you good brother. I mean, I know how you're feeling. You know, it's very, just by that smile on your face tells me that you're in good spirits. But please tell the people, we've been gone for a week. Please tell the people how you doing, how you feeling.
Oh man, yeah, like you said, Coach, I am ecstatic right now. Forget the fact that I predicted this score to perfection.
To a T.
23-20. Absolutely, never a doubt. And have to throw out, because you know me, I'm the stat man. Yep. I throw out some interesting stuff. So 2 things. 1, the Chargers are the first team to start 3-0 against every single division opponent since the 2006 Bears, who went on, if for people who don't remember, who went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they lost that Super Bowl. So
they did lose the Super Bowl.
Right, they did go. They
did go.
Right.
The Chargers also won in week 1 in Brazil, and the Eagles last year won in week 1 in Brazil, and they, of course, went on and won the Super Bowl. So, not saying nothing,
right?
But just
if you're superstitious, let's just roll with it. Right?
I'm the stat man. I just provide. You simply take with it what you will.
Yes, he puts it in the universe and take it how you want to take it. Pause. I love it. We do never have fun on this show, man, if you haven't noticed already. But yes, this is the Electrifying Podcast, and we're going to get right to week 3 review. So let's get into the game. Like I said, we battled the Broncos this week, our 3rd division game in 3 weeks. Some people say the game was murderous road to start the season, but we weathered the storm, and we talked a lot about this backstage, and I want to give you the floor right now to tell you why you feel like we won this game versus years past. What was the biggest reason why you think we won this game?
Oh, to all Charger fans, and we talked about this like you mentioned before the show, it's obvious. It's Coach Harbaugh. It's that culture, that mentality that he's brought to this franchise, that this franchise has so desperately needed and so desperately lacked pretty much since Marty. And that was back in 2006 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So
full circle.
It really just seems like all these numbers are connected. I spit these out, and the universe is playing games, but it just goes to show you that, and this, again, talking before the show, if you want, there's been the question, does coaching matter? If you want the answer to that question, look no further than these Chargers.
Indeed.
The core players that have left this team, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen left and, obviously came back, thankfully. Mike Williams, left, came back, retired. But, so many of these pieces that were cornerstone pieces early on, they leave, and we have our best season before, in that whole last head coach. Brandon Staley, his entire tenure here, did not have as good of a season wins-wise as Harbaugh did in his first year, and that roster was gutted.
It was.
Okay, that roster was projected to win 6 games. And him, Herbert, James, Ladd, Alt, Slater, of course, so many of these guys turned that season around, and we made a playoff push.
It absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That coaching is definitely the delineation between chargering and being a contending team. So yes,
the Broncos
absolutely matters.
The Broncos were the team to charger in this game. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, how about that? Good point. They definitely fell short of the proverbial win. I guess they snatched the defeat out of the jaws of victory, like the Chargers. Yes,
yep.
I definitely would agree with that for sure. Yeah, but it was a great game, man. It was a great game. Nail biter game. I put a meme out on Twitter as the game ended. I said I was in a glass case of emotion. I was riding high in the first half. I was biting my nails in the third and fourth quarter, and then the end of the game, I was celebrating and clapping. So yeah, it was a glass case of emotion for me. I was Brown Burgundy. I really was. So yes, it was a good one. It was a good one for sure, man. So let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about the brass tacks of the game in its entirety, right? So we're gonna get into the breakdown of week 3, positive, negatives, what they need to improve on, and things of that nature. So, start us again. The game was 23-20, as Young RG predicted, to a T. Late field goal by Cameron Dicker as time expired. Was the ultimate quote unquote nail in the coffin for the Chargers to go 3-0. It was like I said, it was a game of runs in my opinion. The Chargers got out to 10-0 lead. They gave up a busted coverage touchdown at the end of the half that brought them back into the game. They ran off 17 straight. We got a field goal in the third quarter. They scored. We had to run off 10 in the fourth quarter to ultimately tie. It didn't take the lead. Held them to 3 in the fourth. So it was a literally back and forth game. Like I said, we got off to a hot run. They started a run in the second and third, and we had to finish it in the fourth, man. So it was a stressful and heart-wrenching game. My blood pressure probably went up 10 points.
Oh yeah, I make no mistake. As happy as I am about this, I do not want to discredit this Broncos team one bit, because this game, we knew going into it was not going to be an easy game. Obviously, I predicted a 3-point win. That is never going to come easy. Didn't expect it to come in that way when you're down in the fourth quarter after giving up a 10-point lead. Right. So there was just so many different things that happened in this game, but ultimately we end here, and man, Justin Herbert. If you want the answer to why arm talent is so important and why arm power is such a sought after trait from these coaches in the NFL, look at that throw. Falling defender as close as he can be without actually touching him, hand in his face, Allen in the end zone, defender draped all over him, falling back across
his body,
falling away, and he just lasers it. And there's 3 QBs who make that throw.
Maybe. Yeah, I think Allen, Mahomes, and him probably the only 3 that can make that throw in this league.
That's my list. Yeah. Just not even to not to try to delve into that too deep, but it's just plays like that. That is an MVP play right there. I agree. Win your team the game. It wasn't to win it, to tie the game. Right. Your defense gets a stop, and then bam, you come right back. You have one opportunity. You drain 5 minutes of the clock, get into field goal range, and Dicker sends us home happy. Man, you couldn't have written it up any better.
Now, how does it feel? Because you and I both, in 20-odd years, we've both been fans of this team. How good does it feel to finally have a reliable and trustworthy kicker of all things? Like, that is an underrated thing that we have on the team right now. They had the most accurate kicker. I want to jinx it at all because I cringe every time they say it on TV, but to have the most accurate kicker in NFL history at this point for the amount of kicks he's kicked. How does that feel to have a reliable kicker when you feel like if it's makeable, it's likely going in? How does that feel for you?
It's the best feeling ever, because before this, every time the kicker went up there, I'm like, he's gonna miss. Like, I just had to program myself to say he's gonna miss it because I didn't want to let myself down.
Right.
Now, when he stepped up there for that field goal,
I wasn't nervous at all.
The only thing that I was worried about was like, damn, today seems to be the day of freaking blocked field goals.
Great point.
And I was like, is somebody just gonna? We have at that point, we'll get into it a little bit more. Two starting linemen are out by that point, so I'm like, oh my god, like, so that was the only bit. It wasn't like, oh, he's gonna miss it. It's like it's just that kind of day. Any given Sunday, the Broncos lose last week. Divine justice would be they win it this week on that type of play. So
that's a good one.
Yeah, so definitely a little bit of nerves, but with as far as my confidence in Dicker the kicker, it will never waver.
I like it. Okay. All right. So we got a good, righteous victory with a field goal at the end. Like I said, that typically doesn't go our way in the past. And we're just glad to have confidence in our coach, our quarterback, and our kicker. Because not only did Herbert, I just want to touch on that throw one more time. Not only did he throw across his body away from I guess you can say his normal throwing motion, but he threw it around the defender. His defender threw his arm up and he threw it around his arm accurately to Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen caught it one-handed. I mean, what more can you ask for? Forgetting
the fact that he broke free of a would-be sack of Allen earlier in that, got beat off the edge immediately, and he steps up in the pocket, goes left, and oh man, I mean, people have been talking about it. That as right now as it stands, that is the best play of the young NFL season.
I like it. All right. So let's talk about his team stats real quick. Now, this is really skewed, in my opinion, because we look at this, every major stat the Chargers dominated this game in. I mean, 270 yards passing, 106 yards rushing versus 118. Won the penalty war. They had 10 penalties to 3. The time of possession, 36 minutes to 23. Now, the only thing you can really hang your hat on the idea of the Broncos winning is the turnover battle. The loss of fumble, interception that was tipped, whatever the case may be, pressure on Herbert right at his legs. The ball was short. It got tipped up and intercepted. So that sack battle, they lost the sack battle, in that regard. But that's indicative of our linemen being down. We lost Kai Becton, to injury, and of course we are down to a second string tackle on the right side with Trey Pipkins. So yeah, so they
lost Pipkins to injury too.
Right, he went off for stress. So Declan had to come in and actually Declan didn't do that bad.
No, I was just about to say
Declan didn't do that bad, and I was saying us getting him might be all right. Again, he bounced around, but he's a solid guy. He's a solid tackle. So I'd much rather be more comfortable with him at guard. But that's the whole conversation. But yeah, so that but again, with 29 first downs to 9. 8
insane.
8 of 17 on third down. There were 2 of 13 on third down. Just total plays 80 to 48. So you would think that the Chargers walked away with this, but it was a game. It was a game because of turnovers and penalties, and just bust the plays. Just allow them, quick hitters, allow them to get back into the game. But yeah, I mean, on the stat sheet, look great. It looked great.
You talk about the turnovers and the inopportune times. It just came like, the interception, unfortunate, Herbert's first one of the season, and how fitting. It's a double tip ball for a pick, great play by the defender. Herbert tried to fit a tight window throw. You live with that. With Herbert, he's going to make those throws. He's going to take those chances, and 7 times out of 10, he's going to make that throw. 2 times out of 10, it might fall incomplete. And the one time it gets tipped, it gets picked. It is what it is. And then the fumble coming out of halftime, that was going to be our opening drive of the second half.
Yeah.
Boom, fumble. So it's like you can't even get, you're already at a disadvantage at the second half. So one of the fourth downs is the touchdown, the blown coverage for them to Sutton. So it's like, just, you're right. We dominated the stat sheet, but the opportune plays came at the right moments for the Broncos, and they capitalized on them. But in totality, we controlled the game, and it showed at the end. We ultimately came away with it.
I like it. Yeah. But like you said, it's definitely, it looks good on the stat sheet, but they say those opportune plays and they cashed in on them, kept them in the game. So yeah, that was the only, difference in things that probably need to be cleaned up. Can't fumble, can't throw those inopportune picks and things of that nature, give those busted coverages up at the end of the half kind of thing, especially when you're cover 4. How do you give up that type of play on cover 4? It's wild. I'm still blaming our Loa Gilman for that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, don't get me started on him.
I know. But yeah, so look at it from individual stat perspective. It was definitely a pretty balanced game. Mario Hampton having to step up because Najee got hurt. In the
breakout game.
It was. And he was struggling. Before that, Najee seemed to be moving pretty well. Averaging 4.7 yards a carry. It wasn't until it was Mario Hampton's show only where he kind of got his footing, which. Maybe, with it, having to not look over his shoulder and just be calm and comfortable, allowed him to, be run a little more freely and, get him moving in the run game. Because I was concerned. I even bitched him in fantasy too much to my peril because I wasn't sure how, one, they were running blocking for him. 2, he just wasn't finding the lane. So he just wasn't looking good for the first 2 weeks. So I was a little leery. Plus I had some other guys that were pretty producing. So I was feeling good about them. So it is what it is. But I guess, now I'm not going to bitch him at all because he's starting for sure, bar none. And we'll get into what it's going to look like later on in the show. But yeah, but overall, man, stat wise was pretty good. I mean, Quentin Johnston, man. I mean, he's making me eat my words by the week. Like I swear, he heard my video over in the preseason, and he said, "I got to prove this guy wrong." He's been bashing me for 3 years.
Hey, I will come out immediately and say, "I am sorry, sir. Somebody send me a QJ apology form. I will happily fill it out. I called for him to be cut." After we saw what KLS was doing, after we saw what Trey Harris was doing in the preseason, I was like, bye. We don't need you no more. And man, am I so happy to be wrong. I've never been more happy to be wrong.
You know what, though? I'm going to keep hating because it seems like my hate is against play. So if I keep hating, that means he's going to keep doing this, and we still win ball games. So I'm going to continue to hate on him. I'm going to continue to call him. He say he can't catch. I'm going to send all kinds of hate mail his way just to fuel his anger. It's almost like a Sith Lord filling his apprentice. I'm going to just make you feel pain upon pain and just make you more and more angry and more motivated to fulfill your destiny. So yes. I definitely going to continue to hate on him until the end of the season where, hopefully we are doing some big things, at the end of the season. But again, he's had 3 masterful weeks. I mean, he's leading the team in receiving. Making catches, with his hands. That one catch in the corner of the end zone. Another great throw by Herbert, by the way. Going up against 2 defenders, contested catch and owning the ball. And I think that's the first time I've ever seen him do that.
Yeah.
I was highly impressed about that. I was highly impressed.
If you need any more, not because that was amazing what you just said. I agreed with everything. If you need any more evidence for it, Pat Surtain was on him for 86% of the snaps. I want you to let that sink in.
Great stat.
The defensive player of the year was on Quentin Johnston, not Keenan Allen, not Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston for 86% of the snaps.
And he went for 6 receptions and 89 yards.
And you see this, and you see the stat line.
There it is. 10 targets, 6 receptions, 89 yards, and there was some big yards. The run after the catch, the contested catches, he did his thing. And Keenan Allen doing Keenan Allen things with his 1 touchdown. Marion Hampton coming through with 6 receptions. Now we're going to talk about Rondé Gaskin because I told y'all about him, and I just couldn't wait until he actually got time to be on the field because he was going to show y'all that I'm not a 5th round pick.
Yep.
and whoever drafted people above me, you're going to rue the day. And right now, it's looking like good money because Rondé Gaskin had a coming out party. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 46 yards. And I'm talking about these were big catches. 3rd downs, sideline toe taps. I mean, he was doing his thing. He looked like a receiver out there. So listen.
That final drive, he went to him twice.
He did. And didn't hesitate.
Nope.
Didn't hesitate.
Never wavered. He went to him deep in the end zone one time on a deep target throw, right sideline, a little bit off target, but to see that level of trust in a rookie, I mean, and that tight end room is wide open for him.
It really is.
There is no competition.
I would argue that, and I was thinking about this schematically when he was drafted. I said he's going to be the 3rd down tight end every single time. Like Tyler Conklin, Dillon's going to be sitting on the sideline. When it comes to 3rd down, he's going to be the 3rd down guy when it was obvious pass downs because he's the best receiver in the room, bar none. After seeing him in the preseason, I said he's the guy. He's the guy. He's gonna be the tight end going forward, and he blocked well.
Yes,
the underrated thing. He did block well on the times he was on the field. So yeah, that's an underrated thing for him too, because people were questioning that coming out of college.
I was just about to say that was the biggest reason why he fell so much. And, it was a pretty loaded tight end class. Obviously, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Mason Taylor, there was a lot of tight ends that went early, but his biggest knock was he can't block. And he is already, again, it's an early sample size, but I mean, this is as bountiful of a sample size as you can get with this short amount of time, but you're playing all three division opponents. We said preseason show, we're gonna find out what this team is made of in the first month of the season.
We did,
and boy, did we ever find out what they're made of.
Talk about battle tested, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yes, indeed. So I mean, outside of that, we definitely, it wasn't I guess you can say a high percentage game for Herbert, 28-47. He ended up with 300 yards. He did get sacked 5 times. That one pick, but that one touchdown. But that one touchdown was the best one of the night. That's for sure. So yeah, good, another steady performance, and I would argue that Bo Nix struggled in this game. This might be another underrated thing people aren't focusing on. He didn't have a great game. I think he had a better day scrambling than he did throwing the ball. But
and we knew that too. That the biggest struggle to this Chargers defense. The one big weakness it does have is those running quarterbacks can get free.
Yes, indeed. But I like what Minter's doing. He's putting Dayon as spy on second and third downs to keep that from happening. So I like that as well. So keep an eye on that, because that should hopefully mimic that, idea of his going to do that from here on out. So I like what Minter's doing and changing up his scheme in that regard. So we'll see how things roll. But, great stat line, for another, win against a division opponent.
Absolutely. Very, very proud of the way the boys played.
Indeed. So let's talk about the positives in this game. We talk about Ryan Gas, his performance, his coming out party. Marion Hampton stepping up big in his role. He not only ran well, but he caught the ball well.
Yes.
That was definitely a good thing. Quentin Johnson continues to impress. He looking like and I would argue that I think the comfortability of him not being able to worry about the entirety of being the guy with Keenan Allen Ladd being there, that kind of takes the pressure off him, allowed him to be free and allow him to play a little bit more aggressively in his matchup. So I think that's what's been shining for him in the past 3 games. He's gone up against some good corners. I mean, he's seen Trent McDuffie exclusively. He's seen Pastor Tan. He's seen the Darian Porter and those guys in Vegas. So yeah, he's going up against some good competition. He's shining all 3 matchups. So listen, I'm just hoping it continues. I don't want to see any fall off. I don't want to see any drop off. All I want to see is keep climbing that ladder, young man, and we'll do some good things in the season. And let's just hope we stay healthy.
Yeah, keep that confidence level going, QJ. I mean, with Harbaugh, whatever Harbaugh's feeding these dudes, they're buying into it, and it shows on the field. And I just really quickly want to, just because we mentioned about Amarion Hampton, this is the first game where he truly showed why we took him in the first round. And it's not just because of that running ability, but it's that receiving ability as well. Like we mentioned when he got drafted in that show, 9 point yards per reception. At North Carolina, and that was without Drake May, this past season without Drake May. So he can be, and if the running game isn't going to get going, if the run block, the O-line's hurt, then we need that, short passing game to extend the run game and make an extension of the run game through that short pass game.
I like it. Yes. I share those sentiments exactly. And, and the underrated thing about him too, his pass protection abilities. He's great in pass pro. I mean, he's going up against D tackles and D linemen and stalwarting them and keeping them off Herbert. So that is an underrated ability he has as well. And I think that's really why, on top of the fact that he runs and catches well, his size, his quickness, his agility, and his speed, his ability to pass protect was just a no-brainer call for them to draft him when he fell to them in the first round. So yes. Yep. Definitely an excellent pick. And I think, again, you can say it's a homer thing or not. I mean, just as analyst perspective in its entirety, he's going to be the best back to come out of this draft class in this year, for sure. That's for sure. And again, he's going to be solo now because, again, no more Najee Harris, unfortunately. So we're going to really see a really heavy dose of Amari Hampton going forward, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, the Najee injury, this is it. Hampton, this is your running back room.
Indeed. It's your show, buddy. Mm-hmm. And what more can we say about the defense on third downs? They've been really good about that all year. I showed a stat earlier about how poorly the Raiders and the Broncos did against the third down, adversity. And then again, to round that out, Justin Herbert against the adversity, his pass protection was not great all game. He survived it. He did get sacked 5 times, but he survived it. He came through and he made plays when he needed to make plays, and he ultimately carried his team on his back to a victory, man. So again, he's on, for 3 weeks, man. It's a long season to go, but he's on MVP tear right now. That is for sure. That is for sure.
Passing yards leader currently after 3 weeks.
I'm saying in a run heavy offense.
Yeah.
How about that?
Although I don't know, is it really run heavy with the way Greg Roman's been calling? I mean,
it might not be. It might not be. You got a point.
I do want to mention that very quickly. I know we already gave Greg Roman a lot of credit in that first week, but he needs for as much hate as he got, we need to give him the same amount of love for the play calling that has erupted from this team, because nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
I think they listened to the pod, because I was critical of Greg Roman. I was on Greg Roman's case as much as I was on QJ's case the whole summer, and they like, okay, this guy clearly isn't going to let up until we change this. So yes, we got to do something about it. And not to speak, I'm not to act like I'm the god of podcasting when it comes to the Chargers thing, but it was a thing about him meeting with Herbert over the summer. I think we talked about this in backstage, that Roman went to visit Herbert over the summer, and they sat down for a elongated period of time to discuss how they can get him to the level that he's playing at right now. And I think that was the delineation of, what are we seeing now versus what we saw in the years past. Now, he wasn't great in the years past, because he was, but you just see a more polished and elite style of quarterback play that we see in 2025 that we have in the past. So I think that meeting and them getting together and getting on the same page would also be the change in what we're seeing in 2025, and why Greg Roman feels so comfortable with opening up the pass game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it. And I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, it's just the connections on this team. Like, everybody is invested in each other. Everybody believes in each other, and that belief, that confidence that is building in that franchise and in that building, it's showing on the field now. It's no longer just talking about it. It's putting, and now that you have these 3 wins, if there was any doubt whatsoever, and I don't think there was, I'm not saying there is at all, but if there was any little grains of doubt in any of these players, that is gone this year. And that is a scary thing for other teams. When you're going up against a team that fully believes we can beat you, we are better than you, we have that guy at quarterback, we have an elite defense. Magical things have happened, we've seen in the NFL.
Right. And that goes back to the original point. I think that the faith and the foundation of that is the coaching. I think they have faith and belief that the coaches know what they're doing. They believe that they're going to, keep them in the right position in all times, keep the miscellaneous and random things that usually happen in this franchise away, keep that negative stigmatism out of the building, and they can have full confidence and trust and belief that they're going to be in the best position possible to win games, and they have been so far. So hey, the sky's the limit for this particular bunch, man. It should only be up from here. Now, we got to fight through some adversity, and we'll talk about that in the negatives. But but I think that this core group is invested, like you said, and they're ready to go, and we're gonna get the best out of this bunch as we possibly can, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
All right, so moving on to the negatives. Of course, it wasn't in a great amount to talk about in this one that we haven't talked about already. I mean, clearly we talked about all summer and that up to the regular season about the interior O-line pass protection that hasn't changed. And then with Mekhi Becton going out and Trey Pippen going out for a stretch didn't help things. Although, like I said, I think Austin Nicholas did a decent job. I think the pressure came when Pipkin was actually in the game. It might be because he was kind of hampered with his injury, but
Sawyer also did not do a great job.
I was going to talk about him. I said he got blown up quite a few times, and I didn't like that at all. Would not have happened if Mekhi Becton was in there, so that's a problem. So he's in concussion protocol. We'll talk about the injuries in a minute. He's in concussion protocol right now, so hopefully he comes out before we get to the Giants game, but we'll see. It always makes me leery about guys and how severe their concussions are when they take them to the back. Now, if they just go into the tent and they evaluate them, take their helmet, and don't let them go back in the game, that's one thing. I feel like that's a mild concussion. But when they take you to the back in the locker room, that seems like it's a more severe thing, and it might last more than a game. So I'm a little concerned about that, especially facing this Giants pass rush that we're going to see on Sunday. But But overall, that's still an issue. I mean, clearly, I don't want to see Herbert running for his life for the entirety of the season when he has to pass the ball. So we got to figure out a way to clean that up. Even if it means making a move, trying to find another interior O lineman, or again, call Shaq Mason. He's not doing anything right now. He's just sitting, idly by, not playing for anybody. I wish Jedrick Wills was still healthy. We could have maybe gotten him, but we need some help there. At a certain stretch, if Makai is going to be, missing games. So, yeah, I think that's something we need to clean up. And then just they've done a better job in the last back half of the Raiders game and the Broncos game, but the run game it needs to improve. We're not getting the same push we were, which is essentially the same O-line that we were in 2024. So I don't like that. Clearly the pass rush in the second half was something that was kind of non-existent unless you drew up pressure, unless you dialed up some pressure, blitz Derwin, blitz Dayon. There's some things that kind of, manufacture pressure. You wouldn't really get a whole lot of push and pressure with four guys. That's a concern. And just the overall injuries, man. We just hit injury bugs at bad times that kind of stagnated our offense from my perspective. Like I said, with Makai going out, with Trey going out, the whole right side of the line being missing at one point, that was the issue. Of course, Najee going down, not having that 1-2 punch. That was rough. I still cringe. I had to keep skipping over stuff on my timeline because I feel like every time I turned something on my timeline, I kept seeing it. I didn't want to see it anymore. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was definitely sad, and prayers up to Najee, man. You hate to see that, especially when he's on a 1-year contract. I mean, that's just absolutely brutal. So, always prayers up to that situation, and but I think a lot of the negatives about this week were definitely attributed to the injuries. You could definitely point to the injuries for a lot of it. Pass rush, that's just something. But again, Mac is injured. But that's something that even struggled when he was there. So, not totally surprised that it's struggling even more when he's gone.
Right.
Early push in the run game, that is probably the most concerning thing, I would argue, because like you mentioned, it's pretty much the same interior O-line as 2024, and they were getting a lot more push than we're getting right now.
Yep.
And we have better running backs, I'd argue, with Hampton over Dobbins and Edwards. So that's definitely a little bit concerning. And so I definitely want to look to see if Ortiz makes a move to try to sign somebody, bring somebody else in, bring another vet in. Harbaugh had already mentioned with Najee being hurt that it's pretty much going to be Vidal's spot in the RB2. But Ortiz will be, looking at the market, seeing what's available. I would not be shocked one bit if the Chargers went out and made a huge push at the trade deadline, acquiring a running back, maybe potentially acquiring another lineman or a D tackle. I'm very early on this, but I wanted to, throw it out now. Depending on how, although the Panthers looked really good this past week, so we'll see if this was a fluke, if just a fluke divisional win, or if they're, turning a new leaf. But the Panthers are really bad this year, and they're looking to sell at the deadline because they don't want to deal with Bryce Young anymore. Take a big look at Derek Brown, man. Big DT to plug up that middle pass rush, get those guys on the edge a little bit more free. Maybe with double, because the double up on him is going to be very real. I love him pairing with Tier Tart. I think that would be a huge and very rewarding addition.
Be unfair because Jamar Caldwell is playing lights out as well. Like that was a steal in the third round, and he and Tier Tart are ruining people's lives in the interior, especially in the run game. I literally saw a play where Tier Tart was in the backfield on two separate plays, blowing things up, and Jamar Caldwell is just destroying double teams left and right. So yeah, to add Derek Brown to that would just be a massive get. I would argue that, even if somebody's selling the edge rusher, I would be in the market for that as well, to kind of help that out. And you don't have to rush Mac back because we don't know what the severity of his elbow is. But yeah, I mean, if somebody
Trey Anderson,
yeah, I'm not mad at that either.
Hey,
I'm not.
He's already on a 1-year deal. Bengals are probably cooked.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would cost you a
second
King's ransom. Yeah, I mean, it probably would cost you King's ransom. I mean, I don't know what you feel like about resigning him. If you're Joe Ortiz, because you have to pay him big money. But at least for that, stretch run, pairing him up with Mac Emmett-Tully and those young guys, Caleb and Kyle Kennard, I like it. I'm not mad at it at all. I mean, if you really feel like you want to go all in to make a run and you need to improve those areas, getting an interior O lineman, getting an interior D lineman, or an edge rusher, I thought those are the three big key areas I think they could definitely, reach and get, and it wouldn't be a bad move because again, you have to sew up those areas if you want to compete in the AFC. I mean, let's
Yep.
just be real about it. Again, we love the idea of coaching being a paramount in this organization, but you got to have players to make plays at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So, and people will hone in on your deficiencies, to the
Yes.
point where it will end up costing you a game or two if you're not careful. I definitely agree with you on that. But yeah, I'm with you there. And I was looking at a guy that got drafted late in the 2025 draft that is sitting on the couch too right now. Damian Martinez. He got cut from the Seattle Seahawks, was on their practice squad, but I read yesterday that he's actually got released from the practice squad because he wants to sign with a new team. So he's free right now. So I would at least bring him in for a workout to see what he got because we're talking about another 215, 220 pound running back, from Miami that could, ultimately add to this room. You would feel that Najee role if he was able to, do some things that Harbaugh likes or Roman likes. So it's just an idea, just throwing it out there. So if they're listening, just throwing it out there in the ether, see if it sticks. But that's a freebie. That's a freebie. You don't got to spend any draft capital to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I definitely agree with that. Anytime you can bring in young talent that it doesn't not going to cost you anything, I mean, why not?
Why not? At least work him out and put him on a practice squad, see how things roll. And if he works out, put him on active roster. But
This is where losing Rocket Sanders really sucks.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
God.
I don't want to say it, but that was the thing. But again, you thought Najee Mario and Hampton with 220 pounds and 245 pounds, you would think you're good. You would think you're good. You wouldn't go to expect Najee going to tear his Achilles. You just want to expect that.
Man, I would have kept him over Hassan Haskins. Though. I think putting Hassan
I
Haskins
agree.
on the practice squad, you would have had no worries about him getting picked up.
Him up. I'd agree with that. I said that actually. I said I would have when I did my 53-man analysis, I said I would have either kept Vidal or Rocket Sanders and put Hassan Haskins on the practice squad. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Can't cry over spilled milk.
Shoulda, coulda.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about the improvements real quick, and it kind of is in the same vein what we talked about in regards to what the negatives were. I think going forward, we need to be more physical on the O-line, as far as the getting push up front, and it folds into the idea of improving the run game. The interior O-line got to get their life together. Bozeman and Zion Johnson, especially in their pass protection woes, that's is an ongoing issue, but we knew that. So I just shake my head every time they get whooped up front because we know at some point it's going to happen, and I feel bad for Justin Herbert because he does not have any comfortability with the idea that he can sit back there and throw the ball on a regular basis. And then improving the base pass rush, like you said, we can really good teams. Look at the Green Bay Packers, for instance. Getting good pressure with 4 guys and you're able to drop 7 in coverage is a gold mine for defenses. So if we can manufacture and generate more pressure with those 4 guys, and try to figure out mix and match, try to get your best guys on the field to get after the quarterback, would be something that hopefully Mentor can figure out. Again, to your point, if we can go in a trade deadline and maybe grab somebody off the snide that's really not on the team that's going to compete, I'm cool with that. But one way or the other, it needs to improve, and we got to be able to get after the quarterback because that's going to basically take a lot of pressure off the defense to have to cover and make plays in the back end. So I'm hoping they can improve that from that perspective. But do you have anything to add to the improvement list before we move on?
No, yeah, I mean, just pretty much like you mentioned, everything here that's listed. A lot of it could be also, like I said, attributed to injury. So a lot of this could improve just simply getting healthy as the season goes along. But yeah, I maybe at the start of this season, I wasn't expecting us to maybe go in on a trade at the deadline. But when you start 3-0 in your division, that is first of all, that's a sign that you're for real. Okay, that is no slouch. No matter what team, no matter what division you're in, winning 3 straight games to open the season against your division opponents is no small feat. Ask any professional player, living, past, whoever, they will all tell you that is extremely difficult. And if a team can do that, they are a force to be reckoned with.
Agreed. So yes, you want to maximize your ability to win and win.
Absolutely.
Now, because again, I would argue this. I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. With the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens kind of being the quote unquote cream of the crop, and they're both struggling defensively, I think that if you can improve your ability to be good defensively and maybe have the best defense overall in the conference, that could set you apart from the idea of beating those teams in the playoffs. It's just something to think about. So that might be the reason why you get aggressive in the trade deadline area to maximize your ability to be good, because you know that this is the time to seize it. Because again, the Chiefs are trying to figure things out. The Bengals lost Joe Burrow. There's nobody good in the AFC East outside of the Bills. The AFC South looks like a complete mess. I mean, the Colts are leading the division, my God. And you just beat everybody in your division. So this is the time. This is the time to go all in if you want to do it. Just spend the money, do what you got to do, roll the dice, go get your Trey Hendrickson or somebody like that can literally put you over the top. And that will ultimately decide how far you go in the playoffs.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I know it's way too early to be talking about this, but if you're able to snag that 1 seed, I mean, all bets are off. If the playoffs got to go through you.
Yeah.
Hey, this team, I know we didn't say, expectations were not obviously that at the beginning of the season, but Harbaugh, as great as he is, he may very quickly place those high expectations on himself if this team continues to go on the trend that they are currently on.
I mean, he said he woke up one morning, early and said he got to get Justin Herbert to a Super Bowl. So, hey.
To the Hall of Fame. So you got to get him to the Hall of Fame. And
Super Bowl, then Hall of Fame. Like, what's that? Yeah, you got to get there. You got to win Super Bowls to get them to the Hall of Fame. So, boom, there it is.
Absolutely.
It goes all together. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll see how things go, man. But yeah, I think they should definitely consider it. And we'll talk more about it as we go along. So moving on to the injuries real quick as we wrap it up here. Like we talked about, Najee Harris is out for the season with his Achilles, unfortunately. Wishing for him a speedy recovery. Praise to that man. Khalil Mack, elbow, dislocated elbow. He's on the IR, designated to return at some point. They're going to be out at least 4 games. But Kyle Becton is now in concussion protocol. Like I said, he went into the back with a head injury, so it might be a little bit more severe concussion. So we'll see how the things progress throughout the week. Trey Pipkin was in and out of the lineup with an ankle, so that's to be determined. Elijah Molden was not suited for the game this Sunday because of a hamstring, so we want to see how he progresses this week as far as his rehab. Same thing with Cam Hart. He did not play either. He had a hip injury, so he's a TBD in regards to his recovery. And then Will Dissly, he has a knee. He did not play this game, which allowed OG Oronde Gadsden to play. And actually, in all honesty, I think that was I don't want to see anybody hurt, but actually, got OG some time on the field and he looked good. So I think they kind of was able to evaluate him and realize what they have in him, and he's going to be a weapon for them going forward. So I think Tucker Fisk is going to be the guy, man, out in this conversation when the Will Dissly does come back. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, but that was your injuries, and like I said, we'll monitor that as the week goes on, and we'll kind of give you an update. And like RG said, we're gonna have Kamani Vidal come up from the practice squad to take Najee Harris's roster spot because he's on IR for the season. So he'll be backing up Omar Hampton for the interim, and maybe they will address the idea of bringing another guy in at some point, and we'll monitor that as the waiver wire comes through throughout the week. So there's your injury report. Do you got anything to add to this?
Yeah, just talking about Will Dissly in the tight end room, I think what it's going to come down to between him and Tucker Fisk is who's the better blocker. And I think now I say that I think Tucker Fisk is the better blocker. However, I think Will Dissly is a better receiving threat than Tucker Fisk. So that just because, maybe it's right here, Tucker's right here, blocking, but the receiving, he is
way up there. Yeah.
For what it's worth, he is a much better receiver than Tucker Fisk. So I think that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, this injury is maybe the only thing, because after they saw Gadsden, now this injury might be the only thing keeping Tucker Fisk on the roster.
That part, right? Exactly. So yeah, we'll see how things roll, but. All right, so quick thoughts on the Week 4 matchup against the Giants. Early game, East Coast matchup, MetLife Stadium, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Sunday, going against the 0-3 Giants. There was rumors that we might see Jackson Dart in this game. Not sure yet. I'm sure Daboll won't reveal that to us too early because they don't want to be able to allow us to scheme for him. Yep. They want to throw Jackson Dart out there, but. As I was saying to you earlier in the day, I said we can probably most likely scheme for Jackson Dart and hope we get Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson looks terrible right now. I hate to say it, but he looks terrible. So if they throw Russell Wilson out there for us against us, we should have a better day than unknown Jackson Dart, because we don't. Although we see a little bit of him in the preseason, we don't know exactly who he is in a real live game with when they're playing against the ones. So. we'll see. But that first game against a new quarterback is always weird, because you're not really knowing what to expect. But
right.
But yeah, so we could see the quarterback. But my more concerning talking point is the defensive line for the Giants going against that edge and that interior. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter. That's the tall order when we already have issues in pass pro. So yeah, we're going to have to come up with some inventive things to keep them off of Justin Herbert's case in this game. And if we can do that, I like our chances. But that's going to be the line in the sand for me.
Yeah, I expect the Chargers to come out with a lot of motion, a lot of movement with Herbert, a lot of bootleg, a lot of getting him out in space. If they start to see that pressure early on is busting right through, it's definitely going to be something that needs to be adjusted for on the fly. Totally agree with you with the Dart and Russell Wilson thing. I think Chargers fans are praying Russell Wilson is the one that gets started. And for what it's worth, it is the smart move to. Well, they should really go to Jameis, but they won't. But it is the smart move to not go to Dart and not have his first game be against this defense, because the way this defense is playing right now, they will chew him up and spit him out for dinner. And you do not want to put your young quarterback into that fire to start his career. So I do think it will be Russell Wilson going in. And then, you start Dart next week against the Saints, which is a much less, worrisome start. And you feel like he'd do a lot better then. But yeah, I feel like this game is, a lot of people may say, oh, classic trap game, 0-3, 3-0, it's set up. And with that D line that they have, I could definitely see why. But I just think if they had a quarterback that gave me some sort of fear, I might think this is a trap game, but I don't fear Russell Wilson one bit. I think even if this D-line is eating us up, Russell Wilson's just going to turn the ball right back over to us. And we talked about it in the chat. It's basically play 2-man deep, shell coverage. Don't let him go. Don't let him throw over the top. And he's going to dink and duck his way to a loss, essentially.
That part. And it's just, again, and now it's cascadable. So, I just get making sure you crowd him and don't let him get downhill on you, and then we'll be fine.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll see how things roll, man. We might be sneaking a preview show before the week's out. So look out for that. And look out for all our content dropping this week. We took a week off. I was under the weather, in all honesty. I didn't get a chance to break that news, but my sinuses and my voice was shot. I had to save it for our other shows. So I couldn't get into the Chargers content last week. So we're back. We're back on. We're more on the men, so we should be back on normal schedule this week. So look out for all our content dropping. And if you look for the Electric Shock Podcast in any platform on social media, it is Electric Shock Pod on all spaces. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Let the YouTube algorithm know we're doing big things out here. We're trying to grow this channel to monetization level. If we can get there fast as we possibly can, we would love that, showing that support. And if you drop us a line or DM about any Chargers question you may have, drop it in the comments here, or drop us on a line on Twitter, X, or Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Please do that. And we'll be back, again, throughout the week to give our opinions on what the injuries look like, any breaking news we need to talk about. And we'll be right here for you, giving you the latest and greatest Chargers news that we possibly can. But as always, man, we appreciate everybody's support, and we'll be ready for week 4 in New York, and hopefully we can go 4-0.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. You got anything to wrap it up with?
Oh yeah, just wanted to mention, y'all. Be sure to look out on the Lockdown Defense Sports channel. Going to be posting the Chargers preview to this Giants game on Friday.
Yep.
Right. Comes out Friday.
Yeah, Friday,
so be on the lookout for that. We're definitely going to dive more in depth about this matchup. Take a look at some key matchups, keys to victory, things like that. So don't be sure to miss it, guys. Indeed.
So like I said, drop a line, drop a subscription to there, and we'll be back, in the next 2 or 3 days to drop another video here. But in the meantime, between time, that is Young RG. I'm Coach D Vince, and you always got to remember to boat up.